Hey, what's going on, family? Q up from the afternoon drive home on the block. And listen, today I'm talking with Mike Hill. Mike Hill is an author. He is a reality TV star. You may have seen him on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, getting married to our girl Cynthia Bailey on 1010. But yo, he has a book out, a memoir. It's entitled Open Mic. And Mike, you're on the line with me right now. Why Open Mic? Talk about this book.
Open Mic's my memoir. It's my therapy. It's something I had to write. I felt like if I wouldn't have written the book at that particular time, that I probably wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah,
I definitely wouldn't be in a relationship I'm in, as you mentioned, with Cynthia Bailey. Only because it allowed me to open up and get rid of a lot of the trauma and a lot of the pain, a lot of the depression, a lot of the things that was holding me back in my life, a lot of the things that was affecting me, thus affecting a lot of the other people around me. So when I was writing the book, man, it just opened me up to new horizons and allowed me to heal. And so I wanted to put this out here and share some of my stories of some of my pain and some of the things I went through.
Right.
So that maybe somebody could see something in themselves and maybe it may spark them to get the help that they need a lot sooner than I did.
And that's what I want to know. Like, so when did you realize that you actually had those childhood traumas or, just a lot of things that you were dealing with as a child that you never had opportunity to deal with as a man? Like, when was it when you had to confront those issues?
I didn't know. I mean, because it's life. You got to understand, man, sometimes as black people, we just deal with things. That's just how we are. That's why we're the most resilient people on the face of the earth, is because we go through a lot of things in life. And when we go through it, we just don't feel like, okay, well, we don't need help. We don't need to talk to anything about that. But like I said, when I started writing the book, I realized I was hurting on the inside. I realized I needed to write the book. I realized I needed some help because 3 years ago when I first started writing the book again, I was on the outside very happy. I was, my job was great. My personal life was outstanding. I was out there in the streets, hanging out with ladies and things, my thing, But I was dying on the inside, man. I would find myself in a hotel room on the road or at home, and I would just start crying for no reason. I'm not a crier. I've been told not to cry in my life or whatnot. I'm not an emotional person like that. And I didn't know what was happening. And there was a voice that told me, you need to write this book. And so when I started writing the book, a lot of that stuff started coming out, and I started realizing what was on the inside and what needed to be released.
And one of the things I didn't realize, I haven't read the whole book yet. I just ordered it online, but I did see the overview. Mike, I didn't realize that you were a military guy.
Yeah. 6 years in the Air Force.
Word.
6 years in the Air Force.
And then you also got married at like a young age as well. So talk about that experience about being married so young and having to divorce and recover and, finding that manhood again.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the decisions I made in my life, I did because I actually saw other people doing them. Because I never really had that positive male role model in my life. My biological father was never in my life. My stepfather tried. He was trying to be in my life, but he didn't have a lot of guidance in his life, and he had a lot of demons himself and whatnot. So going into the military was the only option I saw. I mean, I was a smart kid when I was in high school, but I never applied myself. Right. And I had two cousins who were much older, who were like, somewhat, like big brothers in a sense, that kind of looked out for me when they were around, but they were rarely around. They went into the military, and I felt like, okay, well, if they did that, I could do the same thing. Right. So when I went into the military, I felt like, okay, well, this is how my life is going to get started. How I'm going to be able to get out of Bessemer, Alabama. And when I got married, it was because my best friend at the time, I didn't even realize it was going to be my best friend, but my best friend was also married, and he had a kid. And I was like, well, you do it, I can do it too. So at 18 years old, man, I got married, and I have no regrets. I just have life lessons, and every decision I made, man, was for the best for me becoming the person and man that I am today.
Right. And one of the things you talked about, Mike, was growing up in Alabama. And I got to ask you, what was it like growing up with your stepdad? You didn't have your real dad in your life. You just talked about that. And one of the things I did read was your stepdad was a hired hitman. So did you know about that as a kid?
What's crazy is I didn't know he was a hitman until I was like 22 years old. I didn't realize that. I knew that he had done some things that had caused him to get into some trouble. I knew he had killed somebody before. I knew he had killed a couple of people before. But it was always, word of mouth. You had heard certain stories.
Like as a kid, like how do you deal with that though? You know what I mean?
Bro, that was life.
That's a lot to process.
You got to understand where I grew up. You see, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth, man. People look at that. And that was another reason why I wanted to write Open Mic, because people had this whole image of me. I'm like, I've never gone through anything in my life. I got this great life and all that stuff. You're on television. You can't relate to me or whatnot. And I wanted to show people, look, I came up in a lot of neighborhoods that you came up in, or maybe even worse at the time. So growing up, seeing that and hearing those rumors about that, and actually seeing the violence that he could inflict on people, mainly my mom sometimes, it was terrible. It was terrifying, but it was something that I, as a young kid, as young Black kids, sometimes we just deal with because that's just life, and it's unfortunate, and it's not necessarily it's not the right way to go. So, it was part of my life, and it was what made me who I was. And obviously I needed to get the help that I needed a long time ago, but seeing that and hearing the things about Crazy Richard, Black Richard, I knew that we was living in a bad neighborhood, but we never had to lock our doors. We could leave the country for 2 weeks and nobody was coming in our house.
Word.
We had that kind of reputation in the hood. So, look, it was part of it. It kind of, at the time I didn't know what kind of effect it was having on me, but later on in life, obviously it did.
Now, I was reading this review that Michael Stranahan had wrote on you, Mike, and here's what he said, and I quote, Mike has boldly expressed the sentiments of many men who often cry in the dark or remain silent about internal traumas that manifest externally. He shows that honesty is truly the best medicine, and I end quote. So I got to ask you, at what moment did you know it was time to go to therapy, and why therapy? As a Black man, especially when you have so many people talking about us, we don't need therapy. Why are you going there? Why Mike Hill? Why did you check into therapy?
Like you said, in the Black community, we're told not to tell our business. To keep things to yourself. To not get emotional as a man. Don't cry. Don't admit when you need help, because that's not being a man. Why you being emotional? You get called names sometimes. They call you sissy. They call you all that. You acting like a girl. You acting like a female and all that type of stuff.
Right.
I'm here to tell you, man. I'm here to break all those stereotypes that we have, man, because we need to ask for help when we need that help. And as Black men in this country, can I tell you something, RL? We all need help because we're all dealing with some kind of trauma. Just the racism, the stuff that you see on CNN or MSNBC every day, that is trauma that's within inside you. When you walk outside, if you got kids right now and they get into a car and they're driving or whatever, that's trauma. You're thinking about, is my child coming home safely? That's something that you're dealing with that a lot of other people don't have to deal with. So yes, we need to go out and try and get the help that we need to allow some of that stuff, some of that cancer that's within inside of you, which you call trauma, get that out of you so that you can grow. So the main reason why I wanted to put the book out there is because I wanted to encourage those things and to have people to stop thinking that you're weak if you're asking for help. I'm tired of manning up, because if you continue to man up, like we always say, man up, sooner or later it's going to be man down. And when I say man down, I mean 6 feet down in the ground, because it's going to be your grave, bro.
What would you say you have learned about yourself during this pandemic that you now have like clarity on,
Yeah, that I want to make a difference. I want to make the world a better place to live in. I know
make a difference how though?
One of my callings is to bring this type of information, to speak up and to use my platform in ways I've never used it before, and not be afraid to speak up and basically say, I want equality. I want equal rights. I don't want an advantage. I want just an opportunity to prove myself. I want my kids to have an opportunity to prove themselves based on their merits, not based on their skin color, anything like that. But I definitely don't want them to be at a disadvantage, which we already are, because they've had white people have had such a head start in this country. And I'm not saying all white people, because white people aren't bad. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is that there has been a head start and there's been a privilege. All we want is equality, and we want to be treated with respect in the streets when it comes to police officers. And if people can't understand that, I will go down and I will die on my sword fighting for that until we get what's right. And if that costs me my life, so be it. And I'm willing to die for it. I really am.